Lecture 6, Roman Civilization. In this lecture and in the following lecture, we will study the Romans, the third civilization that, along with the Jewish and Greek civilizations, contributed foundational features to Western civilization. The Romans began as one of many Italian city-states. Similar to how Alexander the Great and his father united the Greek city-states, the Romans united the many foci of Italian power under their authority. They did so by relying on their military, their sense of law, and their various systems of governance, namely republicanism and monarchy. Roman origins. Similar to Greek history, Italy was once divided into many city-states, of which Rome was but one situated in the region of Latium. The formation of Rome began in the middle of the 7th century BC. According to legend, Rome was founded in 753 BC by Romulus after he killed his brother Remus and named the city after himself. Latium Vetus, which means Latium of the Old, was located in the middle of Italian lands alongside the western coast. The Tiber River runs through Latium, giving its inhabitants ease of access to the coast and sea. The Latium city of Rome naturally developed by fertile land that borders the Tiber River. The hills by the Tiber River, formed by volcanic activity, were also ideal for the Romans since they allowed the Romans to easily defend their cities. A natural land bridge in the form of an island, also used by the Romans to swiftly move from one side of the Tiber River to the other. Up until the 4th century BC, the Romans honed their military skills by defending their fertile lands from repeated raids by their envious neighbors. The modern version of the Latium region is called in Italian Lazio, one of the 20 regions of Italy. Roman military. The desire to defend their valuable, ideally located land motivated the Romans to form a military culture. The man who's traditionally attributed to giving Roman culture a distinctly military character is Rome's 6th Etruscan king Servius Tullius, lived from 578 to 534 BC approximately. A Roman constitution called the Serbian Constitution is attributed to him. This constitution mandated a census in order to determine how many male Roman citizens there were so as to tax them and to require military service from them. The Roman historian Livy, in his History of Rome, credited Servius with consolidating power, establishing a census, organizing the male citizens according to military rank, and encouraging the worship of the goddess Diana, goddess of hunting. In Greek, her name is Artemis. The Romans developed a system of reward and harsh punishments called decimation in order to further motivate its men to fight. The Greek historian Polybus, in his history on Rome, records this Roman carrot and stick methodology, and I read for you. If it happens that many are at one time guilty of the same fault, and that the whole companies retire before the enemy and desert their station, instead of punishing all of them by death, an expedient is employed which is both useful and full of terror. The tribune, assembling together all the soldiers of the legion, commands the criminals to be brought forward, and having sharply reproached them for their cowardice, he then draws out by lot either 5 or 8 or 20 men according to the number of those they have offended. For the proportion is usually so adjusted that every 10th man is reserved for punishment. Those who are thus separated from the rest by lot are bastinadoed without remission in the manner before described. The others are sentenced to be fed with barley instead of wheat, and are lodged without the entrenchment, exposed to the insults from the enemy. As the danger, therefore, and the dread of death hangs equally over all the guilty, because no one can foresee upon whom the lot will fall, and as the shame and infamy of receiving barley only for their support is extended also alike to all, this institution is perfectly well contrived, both for impressing present terror and for the prevention of future faults. Roman law. The Western value of law is not only due to Jewish and Greek civilization, as previously discussed, but also in great part to Roman law and order, that logically flowed from Roman military culture. The Romans first wrote down their laws around 450 BC after the common people demanded a written code of law in order to ensure justice. These laws are known as the 12 Tablets. In the following century, 300s BC, a Roman official called a praetor was elected by Rome's citizens with the expectation that he would administer justice according to the written laws of the 12 Tablets. In the subsequent century, an official was placed in charge of settling disputes between Roman citizens and non-Roman citizens. This precipitated the development of two types of laws, one for the citizens called jus civile and one for non-citizens called jus gentium. When Rome replaced its republic with an empire under its first emperor Caesar Augustus, reigned from 27 BC to 14 AD, its approach to law once again developed. During this phase, the distinction between jus civile and jus gentium lessened until finally, under Emperor Caracalla in 212 AD, it was reduced drastically when he offered Roman citizenship to all free people living in his empire. A distinction was made, though, between citizens of higher rank and citizens of lower rank. Nonetheless, a sense of one rule of law applicable to all was present. When Christianity was allowed to freely practice in 313 AD by the Edict of Milan, Roman law was adopted by Christian rulers. One particularly notable example is Emperor Justinian, lived from 527 to 565, who ordered the Roman law and Roman jurisprudence he had inherited in various works. These works are foundational to Western civilization's understanding of law. Part of the philosophical underpinnings of these Roman laws is the idea of a natural law traceable to the Roman philosophical school of Stoicism. According to the Stoics, as pithily stated by Cicero, man is born for justice, and the law of equity are not a mere establishment of opinion, but an institution of nature. Cicero grounded the unchanging aspects of law in God. He asserts that, quote, the entire universe is overruled by the power of God, that by his nature, reason, energy, mind, and divinity, or some other word of clear signification, all things are governed and directed, end of quote. Even though he looked up to the Greeks, as Virgil and other Romans did, Cicero held that the Roman understanding of law, grounded in divine law, surpasses the Greek concept of law. Another significant way in which Cicero, representing Stoicism, developed Greek thought in a way that has profoundly influenced Western thought is his defense of human equality. He encourages his fellow Romans not to forget the fraternal equality of men. That men are fundamentally equal was not held by Greek philosophers, including by Plato and Aristotle. Roman governance, republic, and monarchy. Western-style democracy is inspired more from the representational democracy of the Roman Republic than by the direct democracy of Athens, Greece. Unlike a direct democracy, where all citizens directly make laws, judge laws, and execute laws, in a representational democracy, citizens elect leaders to represent them in making, judging, and executing laws. The Greek historian Polybus, in his History on Rome, details how the Roman Republic's system of democratic representation works. Essential to the Roman Republican form of government was a separation of political powers in order to ensure adequate checks and balances. And in your transcript, I provide key excerpts from Polybus. In 27 BC, the Roman Republic, with its representational democratic aspects, described by Polybus, came to conclusive end when Gaius Octavius, grandnephew of Gaius Julius Caesar, established the Roman Empire. When his great-uncle and dictator Julius Caesar was assassinated by a group of irate Roman senators led by Marcus Junius Brutus, a civil war broke out. Octavius was a key player in this civil war. He emerged victorious. After sharing his power as military dictator with Mark Antony and Marcus Lepidus, in what is referred to as the Second Triumvirate, Octavius defeated the two other military dictators. He then established the Roman Empire and in time assumed the title Imperator Caesar Divi Filius Augustus, Emperor Caesar Augustus, Son of God. The true Son of God, Jesus Christ, was born under this emperor's reign, known as the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. Of course, Jesus brought the peace of Christ, the Pax Christi. During the Roman peace, the Roman Empire expanded. Its networks of roads were improved, the language, architecture, most notably the Roman arch, law and customs of the Romans spread throughout the vast empire. One very evident legacy of Roman influence are the many modern languages which are rooted in Latin. These languages are called the Romance languages. The five most well-known of these Latin-based languages are Spanish, Portuguese, French, Italian, and Romanian. God bless.